Āloka, a 2.5-year-old spotty dog, joined the foot-traveling Sangha on our journey of following the Buddha's footsteps with a full heart. He met us for the first time in the ancient capital Kolkata, India. He accompanied us to various sacred Buddhist sites, including Bodh Gaya, crossing the Niranjara River to the Forest of Ascetics, the location of Sujata offering milk rice, Venerable Mahakasapa's Cockfoot Mountain, Sarnath Deer Park in Varanasi, where the discourse, setting in motion the wheel of the Dhamma, was first delivered, Savatthi, Kosambi, Sankisa, Vaishali, Kusinara Parinibbana, Rampurwa, Lauriya, Great Stupa at Kesaria, Vikramshila, Nalanda Buddhist University, Patna, Pataliputra City, Rajagaha Gijakuta, Vulture's Peak, and to landmarks in Nepal. Kapilavathu, Stone Pillar of Buddha Konagamana, birthplace of Buddha Kakusandho, Lumbini, birthplace of Bodhisattva Siddhartha. The journey covered over 3,000 kilometers, 1,865 miles, from December 11th, 2022 to March 31st, 2023. The Sangha encountered thousands of dogs during the 110-day journey of following the Buddha's footsteps. Some barked like thunder, piercing the sky and rattling the earth. Some stood silently watching, and some bared their teeth and growled, ready to attack the monks. However, amidst this sea of canines, one spotty dog appeared to have been awaiting our arrival. As soon as he caught sight of our earthy yellow robes, he joyfully joined the Sangha, and just like that, accompanied us throughout the journey. It was as if our meeting had been predetermined by some karmic connection from the past. Since joining the foot-traveling Sangha, a new chapter of life has opened for Spotty. He left behind his birthplace, homeland, and a series of gloomy days without a home, family, or relatives. Now he traversed new paths and reached new destinations every day, free from the struggles of rolling around street corners, scavenging for food in the garbage, and seeking shelter from aggressive wild dogs. I named the spotty dog Aloka because the lives of animals are indeed a series of dark days. Without wisdom, they cannot judge right from wrong, create merit, or observe precepts. They merely survive on instinct and violence. Once born into the animal realm, it is not easy to be reborn as a human again. Now, Aloka has chosen to follow the Buddha's footsteps and retrace the ancient path, a wise choice that may have been sown by past karma. I hope he finds the light of wisdom on this journey and is reborn in the next life as a person with abundant wealth, who knows how to make offerings, observe precepts, and has correct understanding and sharp wisdom. May he head towards the path of enlightenment, be free from suffering and the cycle of birth, aging, illness, and death, and attain the supreme Nibbana. Aloka means light and is also one of the 10 kasina objects in samatha, absorption meditation, by which a person with wisdom can realize the 4 levels of form sphere jhana, serving as the foundation for vipassana meditation, leading to the cessation of rebirth. From the flat plains to the high mountains, Aloka relied on his feet and strength to climb up near the top of Cockfoot Mountain, where Venerable Mahakassapa entered deep absorption meditation. However, Aloka was afraid to enter the dark crevice that led to the top. Instead, he lay down in front of the entrance, watching the monks one by one enter, feeling helpless. Moved by Aloka's plight and determination to walk alongside the monks to the top, I carried him across the crevices of the mountain to pay respects to the stupa of Venerable Mahakassapa. Aloka's joy upon reaching the top erased all my aches and pains. Passing through new and strange places, Aloka got lost many times in the sea of people, where it was so crowded that even the warm clothes on his body were stolen, leaving only the cloth collar around his neck. He spent long, cold nights in the midst of hungry wild dogs and may have suffered many attacks and injuries. When he saw me again, he happily ran to bite my hand and wept bitterly. To make matters worse, he was attacked by German shepherds and tried to flee while sustaining leg injuries. I followed him to a corner of a crowded intersection, but so many eyes were focused on us. A kind lady even offered me money while I was sitting there hugging and protecting him. I smiled and thought to myself that both teacher and student were no different from real beggars. After getting lost a few times, Aloka perhaps learned from experience and always stood by us. He had been with the Sangha through the freezing winter, drenched rainy nights and frigid foggy days. Winter passed and summer came. Under the sweltering sun, the trees dried up, grass burned, fields cracked, and land parched and thirsty for drops of water. The roads were like red fire burning the skin. Yet, with those 4 little bare feet, Aloka trampled them all, whether through thorny forests, sharp and rough rocks, broken pieces of earthenware, or shards of glass. Yet, with those 4 little bare feet, he patiently walked through them all. Even after all these, Aloka endured a horrific accident when he was hit by a car on a foggy morning. After that, he was chased and bitten by multiple groups of wild dogs with fierce fangs, causing injuries all over his body and forcing him to hobble on 3 legs until the end of his journey. For an extended period, he walked 50 kilometers every day, was constantly tired, had insufficient food and water, bathed in dirty water, waded through mud, and endured bites from mosquitoes, fleas, and other insects. His condition became critical as he fell seriously ill and seemingly reached his end. His body was sometimes ice cold and emitted a foul smell, and his breath was weak as if it were his last. His nasal discharge was thick and sometimes yellow or green, dripping nonstop, forcing him to breathe through his mouth. Aloka could not eat or drink, and vomiting day and night made him even more sluggish, making it impossible for him to stand up. I carried Aloka in my arms as I went from house to house and stall to stall, searching for a doctor to treat him along the long street. Finally, we found a life-saving doctor behind the right door. Aloka received 4 injections, causing him even more pain. When the doctor administered the first injection in his buttock, Aloka tried to scream, but his screams were faint. Startled, the doctor pulled out the needle and quickly injected the rest of the medicine, leaving Aloka exhausted and panting in my arms. I couldn't help but felt pity as I held and petted him. However, the painful injections only helped Aloka lower his fever for 1 night, and the subsequent oral medication didn't even help much. We took Aloka to the 2nd and 3rd doctors, and although more injections were given, his condition remained unchanged. With the 4th doctor, he was injected so much that even the needle bent, causing Aloka to scream miserably, but it did not cure his sickness. Nevertheless, Aloka's condition improved slightly, and he could eat and drink a little. Unfortunately, he threw up in our tent that night. Despite his illness, on a foggy morning, Aloka refused to continue riding and jumped out of the moving vehicle, chasing the group step by step until he met me. As each day passed, Aloka's condition worsened, but fortunately, we were only 60 kilometers away from a big city. We took him to a big hospital for x-rays and diagnosis. This time, the doctor could identify the disease, administer medicine, and prescribe the proper treatment for severe pneumonia. The doctor said it was lucky that Aloka received treatment in time, and I felt a sense of relief. These days, seeing Aloka's health improve day by day, we were all filled with happiness and joy. It was truly remarkable how this small being's strong will enabled him to overcome the brink of death, leaving us all in admiration and awe. During our journey, there were times when Aloka would stop and wait for me, even biting my cane to urge me forward. Together, we climbed to the top of the mountain to reach Satapani Cave, also known as the Mahakasapa Cave, where the first Buddhist council was held. We then went to the top of Gijhakuta Mountain, Vulture's Peak, to pay respects to the perfume chamber of the Buddha's residence. Both teacher and student shared a small nest at night, regardless of whether the weather was hot or cold. Additionally, upon hearing about my decision to bring Aloka to the United States, some compassionate Buddhists generously offered to contribute towards the necessary expenses. The monks also praised and admired this act of kindness, and I am grateful. It is impossible to convey the deep karmic connections Aloka has formed with us in words. I sincerely hope that we will continue to care for and protect him. As it is said, all sentient beings in the three realms and six paths were once our parents and will be our relatives in the future. As our journey neared its end, Aloka became friendlier and closer to the monks, seemingly aware that it was time to part ways. His face looked tired and sad, lacking vitality and energy, evoking a sense of sadness in all of us. However, we could only imagine what Aloka was genuinely feeling. Finally, Ajahn Adon and I said goodbye to the Sangha and took Aloka and Sukho to New Delhi. Before we left, the monks came out to bid farewell to Aloka, playing and caressing him with great affection. Witnessing their love for Aloka brought me immense joy. As we drove away, the sight of the monks waving goodbye to Aloka slowly disappeared from our view. After more than 20 hours on the road, we finally arrived in New Delhi. We completed the necessary paperwork for Sukho to return to Thailand with Bhante Adoln and for Aloka to come with me to the US. After days of back and forth, Sukho finally arrived in Thailand to join the Sangha. Meanwhile, finding a suitable place for Aloka to stay had been challenging for us in New Delhi. The procedures for Aloka to fly to the US involved numerous obstacles, and we had to take care of the quarantine procedures and expenses on our own. However, there were still obstacles on the transportation side, including fees, costs, and documentation, and even the airline we chose, Qatar Airways. Despite these challenges, we persisted in trying to get Aloka on the road and bring him to the US. After intensive days of working with Carrie, my pet, to handle the procedures for Aloka, he could finally board the plane. However, his face looked weary, sad, and contemplative, as if there were thousands of things he wanted to say. Did Aloka know that he would not be able to see his teacher for a month? I had prepared warm coverings and an assortment of toys for him, but the airline refused to transport them. At 10 a.m. on Saturday, April 8, 2023, Carrie, my pet, picked up Aloka from Farmhouse Inn in New Delhi to take him to the airport. They didn't allow me to tag along. Sitting in the car and talking with Aloka for a while, I got out of the car and Aloka nervously ran back and forth on the bench, looking up at me through the rear glass. But his eyes seemed to ask me, why? Why isn't the teacher coming with me? Abandoning me again? I was also helpless. There was nothing else I could do but say goodbye, give blessings to Aloka, and tell him I would see him again in a month. During the final days of our journey, Aloka often cried out loud because he was afraid of being left behind when he saw the monks walking ahead. His cries caused great concern among us as we worried about what would happen to him at the end of the journey. There would be no shelter for Aloka, and every temple in the area was home to many mean dogs that had bitten him several times, making him terrified to enter. Aloka was originally a homeless dog who had likely suffered a lot of injuries. So, whenever he saw another dog, he would growl out of fear of being attacked. However, he stayed close to me and learned to trust me, seeing me as a safe place. I cared for him regarding food, sleep, going potty, and medicine when he was sick. That's why the monks often told me that when Ajahn Panyakara went back to America, Aloka would stand and watch, dying from a broken heart, like an elephant seeing off the Buddha. Recognizing Aloka's good karma during our time together, I am resolved not to let a dog like him, with the seeds of such great blessings, who just completed the journey of following the Buddha's footsteps, crossing thousands of kilometers. I couldn't bear the thought of him falling back into the same hopeless life he had led before. As I think about the last day of our journey, I can vividly picture Aloka standing there, watching the monks depart and being left behind. The thought of Aloka crying until his last breath, as we had witnessed before, was very sorrowful. What I had been worrying about turned out to be true. Aloka was attacked at the Thai temple in Bodh Gaya when he followed me there. Nobody could ignore Aloka's fear, and I had to take him out of the temple for his safety. Moreover, Aloka had been walking too much and was getting exhausted, often lying flat on the ground, unable to move. Due to the lack of proper nutrition and consumption of unhygienic food for an extended period, he developed blood infections, flea fever, helminths, and other illnesses. Thankfully, I took Aloka to urgent care. Although his condition had improved, he endured much pain after 2 days of injections that went straight to the bone. His bitter cries caused concern among doctors, nurses, and waiting room guests. I am unsure what kind of karmic connection is happening, but he has been constantly injected with drugs since he met us. Is it a blessing or a curse? I decided to bring Aloka to the United States and support him for the remainder of his life. How can one turn a blind eye to a being who has had favorable conditions and has been blessed to create great merit on the journey of following the Buddha's footsteps? As sentient beings, we are blessed with more capabilities than these little beings, but not all of us can do what Aloka did. Even though we were often exhausted and running out of strength, our minds were also restless, let alone a dog just over 2 years old. Aloka is blessed indeed, having received attention from monks and Buddhists in many places. Venerable Dambodhivong Virayudo, chief of the Theravada Sangha of Thai monks in India and Nepal, smiled joyfully at me and said, "We have been relatives for many lifetimes, as brothers in Dhamma on the path to liberation. However, due to the lack of karmic conditions, Aloka and his 3 friends wandered as homeless animals. Now, they are fortunate to have met us again on the path of following the Buddha's footsteps in the land of the Blessed One. Your immense love for Aloka has led you to bring him to the US, which is worthy of praise and shared joy. I am full of joy, truly full of joy." On the gloomy afternoon of April 8th, 2023, in New Delhi, India, a teacher and student bade farewell to each other and went our separate ways. As I parted ways with Aloka and got on the road amidst the busy flow of people and traffic jams, I watched Aloka nervously bouncing around in the back seat and anxiously looking at me through the rear windshield. I couldn't help but feel a heavy heart of sadness. The car slowly rolled away and merged into the crowded stream of vehicles, and at that moment, Aloka officially left me. Emirates Flight 0517 brought Aloka to John F. Kennedy International Airport, JFK, in New York, USA, marking a new journey for him to the land of the free. As for me, I followed flight Qatar 731 back to my hometown, leaving behind my days of wandering in the sacred Buddhist land of India and Nepal. The Iron Bird spread its wings in the vast sky and flew through storms, dark clouds, and heavy turbulence over immense oceans. Inside the aircraft, a diverse group of people from different nationalities and ethnicities were either deeply sleeping or engrossed in reading, watching movies, and enjoying the food and drinks provided by the flight attendants. Meanwhile, Aloka was all by himself in the dark cargo compartment, crouched in a cage for the long journey from New Delhi, India to New York, USA. Prone to crying and fearful of being abandoned, Aloka must have endured a lot of pain that none of us could understand. But finally, Aloka arrived and was taken by a company called the Ark Oasis of JFK from Emirates Airlines to a 28-day quarantine facility. During the quarantine period, Aloka was cared for, received vaccinations to ensure good health, and was monitored to prevent the transmission of any potentially dangerous diseases to animals in the United States. Ms. Sarah, the facility manager, said that Aloka brought a lot of joy and peace to the team at the Ark upon his arrival. She added that she and her staff were very touched and impressed after reading all the articles on Aloka's biography. She emphasized that the Ark was very honored and proud to receive Aloka, who they considered the most special dog ever at the facility. As arranged, the facility provided me with weekly updates and pictures of Aloka's activities, reassuring me by showing his progress towards good health. Day after day passed, and I wondered whether Aloka longed for the moment I would appear for him to tell me, "I missed you so much. I've been worried that you abandoned me. This is a whole new world for me, and everything, from the people to every branch of the tree, every blade of grass, is unfamiliar. Why did you leave me here alone? Don't you need me anymore?" Little did you know there wasn't a moment when I didn't think of you, dear master. At noon on May 8, 2023, I, along with my teacher, Venerable Ratanaguna Bujuk and Layman Min, arrived at LaGuardia Airport in New York and headed straight to the Ark of JFK. We sat in the waiting room and answered the facility's questions about Aloka. At the same time, Ms. Sara and her staff prepared for my reunion with Aloka. We had not finished answering all the questions when Aloka appeared with a proud bearing, emerging through 3 layers of glass doors. I called out to him. Upon seeing me, he quickly ran over, jumping up and down with joy. He moaned as if to say, "I've been waiting for you for a long time, anxious and longing. I thought you abandoned me." And with that, Aloka kept leaping at me with unceasing happiness. Then he ran over to greet Grandmaster Venerable Ratanaguna Bujuk and said goodbye to everyone who had taken care of him during the past month. While Aloka was preoccupied, I stepped outside to put his cage in the car. When he turned around and did not see me, He started crying and restlessly looking for me through the glass wall. He tried to run to me, not stopping until I returned inside. Aloka's fear of abandonment made others worry and feel a great sense of compassion for him. After saying goodbye to everyone at the Arc of JFK, we embarked on a car journey to Texas. The long road took us through vast green forests, rolling hills, and grand mountains that stood proudly amidst the immense landscape. Thanks to Aloka, I was able to see cities like Chambersburg, Pennsylvania, Roanoke, Virginia, Knoxville, Nashville, Memphis, Tennessee, and Little Rock, Arkansas. After more than 26 hours of travel under the bright sun and dark night, we finally entered Texas. We arrived at Huangdao Temple at 7:30 p.m. on May 9th, 2023. Aloka jumped out of the car and ran all over the temple grounds, sniffing and marking his new territory. However, when he reached Tranquility Lake, he saw the fish swimming and reflexively stepped back. It was strikingly similar to when he ran into the stone deer in Deer Park. He dodged and ran away. Even the fake owl made Aloka jump and duck. Everything was very strange and new to Aloka, who had spent countless days in the wild and nearly 4 months following the Buddha's footsteps in India. His living environment now had changed entirely, with new places and people surrounding him. I took Aloka to meet his four-legged big sisters, Metta and Adosa. As was his habit, Aloka immediately growled to protect himself. The two sisters yielded to the brother, standing still and watching. Typically, Adosa, being a husky, would have attacked, but not this time. However, I still couldn't let Aloka get too close because his growling would anger the sisters. The first night at my residence passed peacefully, and Aloka slept soundly until morning. Day 2. When leaving for work, I left Aloka in the room, but upon returning, I found everything in disarray. Aloka had torn down all the window blinds except for one, and had also bitten and torn apart any bag within his reach. I was speechless when I saw the state of the room and could only shake my head as Aloka lay among the wreckage. Day 3. Aloka continued his destructive behavior by biting the remaining window blind and even the new mattress that Layman Min had just bought for him. He tore apart the mattress, leaving a mess behind. Anyone who visited was shocked at the sight of this mischievous dog. The presence of Aloka at this temple is only possible thanks to the efforts of many people, including Layman Rohan in India and the Buddhist devotees of Huangdao Temple, who contributed towards the expenses for Aloka's immigration to American soil. The entire arduous process took a long time and was quite costly to bring to the final point of completion. I took Aloka to greet and thank the Buddhist devotees who lovingly supported and created the conditions to allow Aloka to have a new life. The next few months will be a long road ahead as we train Aloka to know what to do and what not to do. Finally, Aloka would like to say goodbye to his eldest brother, so younger brother Karuna, and the late younger brother Sukho. Aloka looks forward to the day when he and his brothers will meet again on the path of cultivation.